All right, a very good evening, everyone. I am Dominic from the Wee School of Communication and Information, and also from the Graduate Students Association. I'll be your MC for this evening's 3MT NTU Finale 2023. So along with me this evening, we also have our members from our Graduate Students Association. We have Arun, our Vice President of Academic, Jia Ping, our Academic Director, as well as our academic committee members who are here with me to ensure that the event flows smoothly tonight. On behalf of our GSA, I would also like to welcome all of you to our 3MT NTU Finale 2023. This evening, we are really excited to present to you our 17 finalists who will be sharing with you their research from the different disciplines. And for this year's competition, we have 3 jury members who have very kindly taken the time to review the presentations of our finalists, and based on their consolidated scores, there will be 3 winners who will be announced later during this event. This evening, we are also very grateful to have our guest of honor, Prof. Lim Rui Xia, the Dean of Graduate College, to grace the event. And we also have Associate Professor Andy Kong from the School of Electrical and Electronic Engineering to grace this event. Prof. Andy is the Deputy Associate Provost of Student Life in NTU. Thank you so much for joining us for this evening's 3MT NTU Finale. So before we kick off this evening's event, let me give you some background and some information more about what this competition is all about. So the 3MT, it originated from the University of Queensland, and it is a form of presentation where our presenters are given 3 minutes to present their work using only 1 slide. So this explains the name 3MT. In NTU, we also have our own version of the 3MT competition. So every year, we have 17 finalists from the different schools, and 3 finalists would be selected as the top 3 winners by our jury members. In addition, we also have the People's Choice Award winner, who would also be selected by all of you who are watching this live stream right now. So you also have a chance to select our winner for tonight and to decide who would be our People's Choice Award winner for the 3MT competition this year. The winner for our 3MT competition this year would also get a chance to represent NTU at the Asia Pacific competition. So before we start the event tonight, let us watch a video that's prepared by the 3MT Organizing Committee to showcase some of the highlights from the previous years as well as this year's 3MT at NTU. All right, thank you, our 3MT Organizing Committee, for preparing this video. Before we hand the time over to our finalists for this evening, I would like to introduce to you our jury panel for this year's competition. Okay, for our panel, we have 3 members, and our first member is Professor George Augustine. Prof. Augustine is a professor of neuroscience and mental health at the Lee Kong Chian School of Medicine. He holds the inaugural Irene Tan Liang King Chair Professorship in Neuroscience. Professor Augustine had also spent 40 years of his career at the cutting edge of neuroscience research around the world, from the United States to Asia, and he is most known for his studies of the brain's synaptic mechanisms. He founded the Center for Functional Connectomics at the Korea Institute of Science and Technology, where he serves as the director. He is also the member of the program in Neuroscience and Behavioral Disorders at Duke NUS, and a former member of the Department of Neurobiology at the Duke Medical School in the US. Our next member on the jury panel is Dr. Angela Freterola. Dr. Freterola is the director of the NTU Language and Communication Center. Her instructional experience encompasses a range of courses, and these include first-year writing, modernism, and 20th century literature. She has also authored a book that's titled Modernist Soundscapes, Auditory Technology, and the Novel, that was published in 2018. Dr. Freterola also studies the pedagogy behind the best teaching practices for helping students to become effective readers and writers. And last but not least, on our jury panel, we have Dr. Priman Rajalingam. Dr. Priman Rajalingam is the director for the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Pedagogy at NTU. He was previously the Assistant Dean for Educational Development at the Lee Kong Chian School of Medicine. Dr. Rajalingam is also a passionate advocate of active and student-centered approaches to learning, and also an expert in higher education pedagogy, especially in the area of problem-based learning as well as team-based learning. His research interests include team-based learning, the science of learning, the science underpinning active collaborative learning approaches, and the evolving role of teachers in higher education. So many thanks to our 3 jury members for helping us and playing such an important role in the 3MT competition this year. Our judges would also be judging the 3MT competitions, the 3MT presentations, based on the following criteria: comprehension and content, as well as engagement and communication. Next, we also would like to invite our guest of honor for tonight, Prof. Lim Rui Xia, for this evening's event. Prof. Lee is the President's Chair, Professor of Material Science and Engineering at NTU. She's the Dean of Graduate College and Associate Provost for Graduate Education. Her current research focuses on developing stretchable elastomeric composites for electronics and energy devices, human-machine interfaces, sensors and actuators, and hybrid materials for soft robotics. She received the 2015 Tech Connect Innovation Award in Washington, the Nanyang Research Award in 2016, the Nanyang Award for Innovation and Entrepreneurship Award in 2017. She was also awarded the 2016 NRF Investigatorship and listed as a highly cited researcher by Clarivate Analytics from 2018 to 2021. Her election as the National Academy of Inventors Fellow in 2020 is also the highest professional distinction that's accorded solely to academic inventors. Prof. Lee is inducted as the MRS Fellow 2022 in the United States, and she also received the SNIC ASCA 2019 Distinguished Women Chemist Award in 2022. Let us welcome Prof. Lee to give us her opening speech. Prof. Lee, please.
Thanks, Dominic. Hope you can hear well. Okay, right. Hello, everyone. It is my great honor to welcome you and to join you in this much-awaited event, the 2023 3MT finals, right? 3-minute thesis competition. It's a university-wide competition that graduate students showcase their leading work to non-specialist audience in just 3 minutes, right? It's a challenge. And our NTU graduate students have always been able to do well and really surprise our audiences with interesting and novel ideas, brilliantly ranging from science, engineering, education, business, and humanities. NTU aims to integrate innovative, and interdisciplinary thinking across the university and strengthen NTU's role in cultivating us as global leader in catalyzing and development of breakthrough ideas that will create societal impact. Therefore, it is very important that our graduate students are trained to communicate effectively and in a very seamless manner and explain their concepts and findings to potential employers, funders, and policymakers and other stakeholders in general. Right? And students are encouraged to pitch and consolidate their ideas and concepts through this exercise. It is also a platform to foster collaborations among students by understanding what others are doing as well. This will help students to collectively address global challenges on environmental sustainability, viable energy solutions, future healthcare, aging, and many other wide-ranging complex issues. It's an important opportunity to generate and create new ideas through discussions and inspiring from others' work. Faculty members representing different schools and colleges in the university has put in a lot of effort in judging and contributed to the selection of the finalists from the 476 participants in the heats this year. I'd like to thank the judges involved. And for today, we're honored to have George, Angela, and Preman, who have also taken their time to work with us on this journey. Okay, so I'm aware that there are 4 workshops that have been conducted by the library in February and March this year to facilitate training support for the graduate students. And I'm happy to know that CITS has rendered their support on video recordings. I truly acknowledge their contributions to the 3MT competition. And I'm also thankful to witness the dedication of Graduate Student Association academic team led by Arun as well as Jia Ping. Of course, not to forget mentioning our Students Affairs Office and Graduate College Warner, who has been helping in coordinating and organizing today's event. Okay, last but not least, the competition could not have happened, right, without the effort and enthusiasm from all the 3MT participants and today's 17 finalists. The skills, the connection, and the network that you will build through this event will be with you for the rest of your life. It can take you to places that you may not have anticipated. All the best for today's competition. It is my pleasure to join you and witness this wonderful event. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Lee, and thank you for taking your time to attend the session tonight. So as mentioned earlier, this evening, we also have the audience choice voting segment. So aside from the top 3 finalists that have been selected by our jury members, do keep in mind the names of the presenters as well as the presentations that you like the most this evening. So without further ado, let us invite our first finalist for this evening. Let us welcome Suchaya Chaiwon. Suchaya is a second-year PhD student from the School of Materials Science and Engineering. She holds a bachelor's degree in applied chemistry and a master's degree in pharmaceutical science. Her current research focuses on understanding and creating effective solutions for EV battery fire. She's currently working under the supervision of Associate Professor Aravind Dazari to solve the EV fire problem. Let us welcome Suchaya, who would be sharing with us her research, which is on fire protection for EV batteries.
EVs are major fire hazards, and my research is about how to create a safer EV. Nowadays, more and more people are driving EVs. You might own an EV yourself. So we drive EVs because of their sustainability, but sometimes in the drive for progress, safety can be underestimated. And in the case of EV, fire is the major safety risk. You might have heard about all these EV fire incidents on the news. And I will give you another recent example. This happened earlier this year in January. An unfortunate person is driving down a Californian highway where out of nowhere his Tesla caught on fire. This fire took firefighters 6,000 gallons of water to extinguish. To put that into perspective, this is 4 fire engines worth of water, and it's 9 times more water used than in petrol car fires. Why are EV fires so difficult to extinguish? The first reason is the sheer amount of battery that's within one EV. For a Tesla car, this can be up to the thousands. So even when half of these cells are extinguished, hundreds more are waiting to reignite. This comes to our second reason why EVs are so dangerous. The battery they use in EV, the lithium-ion battery, have this ability to self-ignite when certain temperature is reached. So in my research, I asked this question: how can I put all this to my advantage? EV fire can be reduced in severity greatly if we can isolate the fire to a single cell out of thousands of cells. This can be achieved by using heat barriers. So the heat barriers will not only protect against fire, but it will help cool down the battery so that it's less likely to catch on fire in the first place. A promising material to perform this is intumescent material, which is traditionally used in building infrastructure to protect against fire. So intumescent can expand up to 10 times its original size when exposed to heat. This allows it to have different thermal property before and after expansion, as this expansion process will introduce air pockets that increase its thermal insulation. This allows us to use a very thin barrier, saving space, to help dissipate heat in EV during normal operation, but also protect against fire. In summary, by including heat barriers, we can reduce the severity of EV car fires. This is achieved by isolating the fire to single cell out of thousands of cells, which will allow us a much safer drive towards sustainability.
Thank you, Sushaya, for the very insightful presentation on how we can prevent fire from happening to EV batteries. The next presentation that we have is on virtual reality, and this is presented by Debbie Ding from the School of Art, Design and Media. Debbie is a first-year PhD student, and she's an artist as well as technologist from Singapore whose research is on psychogeography in virtual reality. Her works have been presented at several notable group exhibitions and also shortlisted for the President's Young Talents 2018 as well as the InPart Art Awards 2020. Let us invite Debbie, who will be sharing with us more about her research on psychogeography in virtual reality.
Have you ever woken from a dream and find that the dream seems to color your entire waking life? Or perhaps there's a childhood memory of a space that no longer exists for you, but yet your thoughts and ideas seem to be filed away into this memory palace. That's what psychogeography is all about. Psychogeography is the exploration of the geographical environment's influence on the human mind and on the way we interact in the city. Central to this idea of psychogeography is a playful approach to the city, but also devising of rules and games in order to upturn social understanding and also change and critique the way the city is. So in 1955, the French situationist Guy Debord coined the term psychogeography, but since then there have been many applications and interpretations of what psychogeography is, and it's often expressed in contemporary art. And as an artist myself, it's been a big influence in my artistic research. In 2010, I created a series of works about the Singapore River as a psychogeographic fault line, a map in which I was seeing how thoughts and ideas about the river drift apart, merge together, or interact like a series of tectonic plates. But of course, artistic mediums today have also moved on beyond paintings and maps. And today, artists like myself also use immersive virtual reality headsets and game engines in order to produce new kinds of spatial artworks. So I've gone from having a very playful approach to the work I make to making works that are explicitly meant to be played by my audience. So I create immersive works of art. So psychogeography raises lots of different questions about our relationship with a physical city. And I think very similarly, virtual reality also raises questions about our relationship with reality. So in my PhD research, I would like to lay out what could a psychogeographic practice look like in virtual reality. through a historic look back at psychogeography, through a close analysis of virtual reality works, interviews with artists, curators, designers, as well as the creation of new artworks about the spaces in my dreams, I would like to show how virtual reality creates new pathways for artists and audiences to dream about space, to express themselves spatially, and to change our understanding of the city.
Thank you, Debbie, for the wonderful presentation. I believe we have learned something new about this term, psychogeography, and how it could potentially be applied in the context of virtual reality. Our next presenter, our next finalist for this evening is Ayar Amrita Sitaraman. Amrita is a third-year PhD student in English literature at the School of Humanities. She has presented her research at various prestigious international conferences. And Amrita's research interests include the philosophy of technology and economic theories of technology that specifically focuses on Asian imaginaries as well as their contextual implications. Let us welcome Amrita, who will be sharing with us her research on reimagining the possibilities of the human-AI relationship.
What is artificial intelligence to humans? Is it a tool? Is it a threat? Or can it become something else? In the second decade of the 21st century, we are in the midst of a technological revolution characterized by artificial intelligence, or AI for short. These include self-driving cars, drones, virtual assistants, and social robots. AI has the potential to revolutionize life from the individual to global levels. This is reflected in World Economic Forum's Global AI Alliance, which aims to maximize AI's benefits while minimizing its risks. In the field of literature, the genre of science fiction has speculated several possible futures that emerge from AI advancements. Conversely, it can be argued that science fiction itself has contributed to certain developments in AI technologies. For example, The Three Laws of Robotics by science fiction author Isaac Asimov has contributed to ethical programming of social robots. All this indicates that science fiction can function as cultural thought experiments for more applied research. However, certain fictional depictions of AI seem to suggest that AI is nothing more than a tool to be used or a threat to be defeated. Both of these limit the possibilities of AI. My argument is that if AI is expected to be such a vital part of our present and collective future, then we must rethink and reconsider possibilities of AI's relationship to us as one of collaboration and sustainability. To this end, I explore several fictional depictions of AI that don't just consider it as just a tool to be used or a threat to be defeated. Instead, I look for instances of collaborations between humans and AI. For example, William Gibson's 1996 novel, Iduru, looks at how an AI and humans come together to ecologically repurpose construction debris and electronic waste to construct a new habitat. This suggests that humans and AI can come together and collaborate with each other. To this end, I posit my study as a conceptual study that might encourage empirical rethinking of the human-AI relationship. I'd like to conclude by reiterating and answering the question I began with. Yes, AI can be considered a tool, and yes, it could be considered a threat, but it could also become our best bet towards sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you, Amrita, for the thought-provoking presentation. I think it'll be really interesting to see and also rethink how humans and AI could potentially collaborate with one another to bring greater good to the world and society, rather than perhaps seeing AI as a form of threat itself. Okay, our next presenter, our next finalist for this evening is Ong Sin Rui. Sin Rui, she's a PhD student from the Tropical Ecology and Entomology Lab in the Asian School of the Environment. She's currently studying the diversity as well as the distribution of Southeast Asian dung beetles and is currently developing interaction networks between dung beetle and mammal communities in the rainforest canopy. Let us welcome Sin Rui to share with us more about her research on Sherlock dung beetles, mammal detectives.
Imagine it's lunchtime, but you're in a brand new hawker center and have no idea what to eat. Well, maybe you could look for suggestions online or ask a friend for recommendations. But now, picture yourself in an unexplored forest and wanting to track down a rare animal, let's say a flying squirrel. So online suggestions or friend recommendations wouldn't be as useful here, and perhaps you need to set up cameras high up in the trees for long periods of time and then trawling through thousands of photos just to get a glimpse of that one flying squirrel. Instead of doing that, why not approach the forest's best mammal detective, the humble dung beetle? As its name suggests, dung beetles love dung. They rely on dung as a source of food for themselves and their young. From a dung beetle's perspective, the forest is just like a hawker center, which is different sources of food coming directly from various forest animals. So just like a well-fed human being, a full and happy dung beetle will have its bellies and guts filled with the dung and DNA of different forest animals. Hence, my PhD research is investigating the use of these dung beetles as detectors of mammal DNA. This includes rare and hard-to-spot mammals that live high up in the forest canopy, just like that little flying squirrel. So how exactly is this achieved? First, I set up canopy traps, which are super cheap and easy to make. They are simply made out of plastic plates, plastic bottles, a couple of wires, and then baited with the most effective attractant, which is dung. These traps are then hung 2 meters high, which allows me to catch dung beetles that forage in the canopy for dung that is caught on leaves and branches. After collecting the beetles from the traps, they are then brought back to the lab to be processed. Back in the lab, I then dissect out the beetles' guts, extract their DNA, and then sequence the DNA to find out what kinds of mammals are found in the forest canopies. So just by sampling our dung beetles, we could do a rapid assessment of the larger forest animals without the need to do any long and extensive surveys. We could also use this information to construct quantitative interaction networks, which shows direct links between each individual dung beetle and the type of dung that it's fed on. These networks are also excellent depiction of forest communities, as they give us a clear summary of the diversity of dung beetles and mammals that can be found in the forest areas. Hence, by combining cheap sampling methods and using both field and lab techniques, dung beetles can be used as indicators of mammal populations. They are indeed the forest's best mammal detectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Sze Looi, for the very interesting presentation and sharing with us more about dung beetles. And this is something that I think for myself, I've actually never really learned about before this. So next, our presenter for this evening is Wu Shuo. Wu Shuo is a third-year PhD student at the School of Physical and Mathematical Sciences. Her research focuses on the development of intelligent technology using spintronic devices, and in particular, magneto-resistive random access memory. She currently works under the guidance of Professor Lim Rui Xia. And at this point, you might be wondering, so what is spintronics all about? Let us invite Wu Shuo to share with us more about her research on spintronics.
Hello everyone, welcome to our colorful spintronics world. Spintronics is a field of electronics. Electrons have a property called spin, which is a bit like a tiny compass needle that can point up or down. If we apply this spin property to electronics, we have this spintronics. The use of spin allows many new and exciting possibilities in electronics, such as creating new devices that are smaller, faster, and more efficient. Spintronics also has a potential to develop many new areas of technologies, including computing, data storage, and energy conversion. One of the most significant advantages of spintronics is its ability to create non-volatile memory. Non-volatile memory can store data, even the power is removed. This is a big advantage over our traditional volatile memory, which loses its data when the power is turned off. This property is particularly useful in our data storage devices like hard drives and solid-state drives. In this way, we can save a lot of energy for our Earth. Another exciting aspect of spintronics is its potential to create new types of computing devices. Spin-based devices can operate at a much higher speed but use less power. Even build a quantum computer that is very powerful than today's computing system, leading to a very efficient computing device. In summary, spintronics is a promising field that aims to use the spin property to electronics to explore new and more efficient electronic devices. So next time when you hear the term spintronics, you can think of it as a magic word that the electron spin is used to create amazing technologies that are changing the way we live and work. And we are working hard to develop new applications for this exciting field. Thank you.
Thank you, Usho, for the very insightful presentation and sharing with us what spintronics is all about. Our next finalist for this evening is from the School of Computer Science and Engineering. His research is on low-resource learning for deep learning models, and he's currently working under the guidance of Associate Professor Lee Bo-Yang. Let us invite Anthony to share with us more about his research on how can we teach AI to answer image-related questions without training data. How do we do that? Let us find out more in his presentation.
Imagine this. You are in a park and you saw a dog and you found the dog is really cute and you want to know a specific detail about the dog. For example, is the dog family friendly or what is the activity level of the dog? However, the problem is that you do not know what the dog breed is. So what will you do? You open out a search engine and enter some text about the dog description, and together with the question, and the search engine will return a list of information. And you need to sift through those information to find the correct answer. Have you ever wondered whether there's a better way? What if you can simply take an image of the dog and ask the question directly? That is the exciting world of vision question answering, VQA, where you can directly input an image to a machine, in this case, the search engine, and the machine will provide an accurate answer to your question. However, to build a machine that can perceive and understand the visual information with respect to your query is challenging. Just like how you would teach a child to recognize, say, an apple. You need to bring an apple to the child and tell the child that this is an apple. Similarly, for machine, you need a lot of training data to teach the machine to perform VQA. And this process is tedious and expensive. Here is where my research comes in. We develop a method where we can build a machine to perform VQA without having to train to do so. Similar to the search engine in our field, the machine is known as the language model. Language model can understand text well, but not images. So our method convert an image into some text description and pass those text description to the language model to generate the answer. Our experimental results show that our text description of an image are relevant and specific, and they are conducive for question answering. Now, with our research, you can simply take the image of the dog, ask the question, and voila, the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony, for the interesting presentation on teaching AI to answer image-related questions without training data. Our next finalist for this evening is Vivek Mohan. Vivek is a final year PhD student from the School of Electrical and Electronic Engineering. His research is on neuromorphic algorithms and circuits for neuromorphic vision and neural signal processing. Vivek was the vice president and currently serves as the emeritus director for the NTU Graduate Student Club. Let us invite Vivek, who will be sharing with us more about his research on how can we connect brain to machines.
50 years from today, in the year 2073, Jacob wakes up to a voice in his head. Good morning, Jacob. Rise and shine. Health screening done. You're good to go. Have a good day. Here's a short background about Jacob. Jacob was paralyzed in a road accident, but thanks to the developments in neural technology in 2073, his neural implant seamlessly connects his brains to devices around him and makes life near normal for Jacob. If Jacob were to live in the present day and age in 2023, the state-of-the-art allows him and gives him a situation similar to the one that you see on the left of your screen. He would have to wear bulky electrodes, and he would be connected to a computer constantly with limited functionality such as moving one arm or converting thoughts to text. If this sophistication was to be added to this kind of functionality, then that would mean increasing the number of electrodes that are recording signals and processing it. That would also mean increasing the amount of data in the order of several gigabytes per second. Yes, several gigabytes per second. That will also come with problems such as heating and damage of the brain tissues. To avoid this problem, my research solution comes up with going back to the basics of neuroscience to see how neurons function by integrating and firing as and when charge and discharge of neurons happen through neurotransmitters. In my neural interface, signals are recorded as and when as the value of the signal exceeds a certain threshold by generating a stream of events rather than collecting each of the samples that is being generated. In this process, I can reduce up to 50 to 70 times the amount of data needed in conventional processing by using brain-inspired methods for compressing this neural data. This also comes with very good performance in terms of spike detection with over 98% accuracy, with very little loss in the signal integrity, which is up to 90% of signal being recovered. Future systems could involve using fully event-based processing methods to make it even more lighter, seamless, and taking one step closer in the direction where Jacob lives in the future. We might be several decades of research away from where Jacob is in the future, but we are taking one step in the right direction with this research to make brain communicate with machines in brain's way, and to be able to make a future brighter for the likes of Jacob, because 1 of every 5 of us in the future are going to be dependent on neural assistive devices. So brain's way of talking to machines might be the answer to this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vivek, for the presentation on this very innovative approach on how we can connect our brain to machines. Before we head for a short break, let us invite our next finalist for this evening, Samuel Xiao. Samuel is a final year PhD student from the School of Chemistry, Chemical Engineering, and Biotechnology, and currently under this interdisciplinary graduate program. His research currently focuses on covalent organic frameworks for membrane separations and is currently working under the guidance of Professor Xu Rong. Let us welcome Samuel to share with us more about his research.
About 2 weeks ago, I was terribly ill with a throat infection. After visiting the doctor, I was prescribed antibiotics and painkillers. It's only with the help of these drugs that I was able to recover from my ailment. I'm very sure that you have had a similar experience. It's only with the help of these drugs that we are able to recover. But have you ever wondered where these drugs come from? They come from big pharmaceutical companies. With the increasing world population, as well as the aging population, the amount of these drugs being consumed and being produced have increased dramatically. In order to meet the demand of these increase, the pharmaceutical companies have to increase their production capacity as well as the amount of waste produced. A typical pharmaceutical waste consists of organic liquids as well as trace amount of drugs. And this makes it very difficult to be discarded. Hence, this is where my research comes into play. The idea is that we take this pharmaceutical waste and pass it through a membrane where organic liquid is able to pass through on one side while the trace amount of drugs will remain on the other side. My research mainly focuses on 2 parts. First, covalent organic frameworks, which is a new class of material that has been specifically selected due to its strong covalent bonds, as well as its high crystallinity. This results in its rigid pore size as well as its high stability, which is suitable for membrane technologies. And the second part, which is organic nanofiltration. This is the membrane process as mentioned earlier. Membrane technology is advantageous due to its ability to run on low temperatures and low pressures. Hence, it outperforms the traditional separation technologies on three main fronts. First, economics. Membranes are cheaper to run due to its requiring less energy and lower upfront capital costs. Second, it is safety. Membranes are far safer to run than conventional techniques. And lastly, the middle bubble is sustainability. Our newly developed covalent organic framework membranes have shown promising results in organic nanofiltration processes. We are able to separate organic liquids from molecules efficiently and requiring less energy than the current separation techniques. Hence, requiring a smaller carbon footprint as well as a more sustainable way of running things. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel, for the very interesting presentation on covalent organic frameworks for membrane separations. And thank you so much to all our first eight finalists for this evening's competition. So we'll now be heading for a short break, but while we go for this short break, we now would like to invite you to take part in so we have a mini activity for you to participate in. So we have our 3MT audience quiz that we would be conducting right now. So in a couple of moments, you would be seeing a screen for you to scan this QR code for you to join this game itself. Is it a game? Okay, it's a quiz. Okay, yeah, so yep, on the screen right now, we see this QR code. So what you need to do is to simply either head to this website or to scan this QR code to join this quiz. Alright, we see about 15, 17 people. I think more and more people are joining. So just to add on, so when you participate in this quiz, you actually have a chance if you if your fingers are quick enough and you answer the questions correctly, you would stand a chance to win a $10 Prime supermarket voucher. So let us wait for a couple more moments for more people to join the link to start the quiz. right, so we have our three winners here. Congratulations to Rachel, who's XR and who's DBVD. So for the three winners, congratulations. You've each won yourself $10 primary school vouchers. But what we need you to do, because we do not know who you are, so do let us know in the chat who you are, and also do keep a screenshot, I guess, of this of the screen that you are currently seeing on your phone, just to verify that you are the winner for this quiz itself. All right, so thank you everyone. Thank you for participating in this quiz, and give us a moment to change our screen. All right, welcome back everyone. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for participating in the 3MT audience quiz. All right, now we will continue to watch the presentations of our 9 other finalists for the 3MT NTU finale for this evening. So our next finalist for this evening is Sze Looi. Sze Looi is a final year PhD student from the National Institute of Education. Her research is on how secondary school mathematics teachers design instructional materials, and this is done under the guidance of Associate Professor Leong Yu Hong and Assistant Professor Choi Ban Heng. She is currently the Vice President of Welfare for the NIE Graduate Student Club, an NTU Research Scholar, as well as the Graduate Women of New Zealand Fellow. Let us invite Sze Looi to share with us more about her research on unpacking the hidden affordances of teachers' self-designed worksheets.
A unique feature of the Singapore mathematics curriculum is that it's revised every 6 years, and new textbooks are released to cater to these changes. But you might be surprised to hear that instead of using these textbooks in their classrooms, Singapore mathematics teachers commonly use their own self-designed worksheets, or they'll modify the school-based ones which have been inspired by these textbooks. Now on the surface, the tasks in these worksheets can appear very similar to those in the textbook, like these ones here, which are generally used to practice solving procedures. But emerging research has shown that our teachers are very deliberate in how they select, modify, create, and sequence tasks, because tasks like these can provide surprisingly rich discussions in the classroom. So how do our teachers design these worksheets? In my PhD, I consider the notion of task affordances. By affordances, I mean how the nature of an object can allow for multiple possibilities. For example, I can use this chair in the most obvious way. Or maybe I can perceive its potential to defend myself or to practice gymnastics. The problem is, affordances are often hidden within tasks, and they can only be harnessed if teachers notice and act on them. So to unpack the hidden affordances that teachers perceive and how they contribute to teachers' design decisions, I followed 4 teachers as they designed multiple drafts of their worksheets. I examined how they modified, created, and sequenced tasks, as well as their goals, and how they envisioned these tasks would play out in the classroom. For example, the teacher who designed this set of tasks anticipated that her students would rush through and adopt the most obvious solution method, which is what they would normally do. But when they came to the third item, they would realize that adopting that same method might lead to an incorrect solution if they weren't careful. This teacher wanted to lead her students to realize gaps in their understanding. She selected and sequenced tasks that would allow them to think fast, catch them in their mistakes, forcing them to think slow. From cases like this, I'm developing design principles that can explain not just what teachers want their students to learn, but how they harness certain affordances to make that happen. These design principles will contribute to professional development that will help to sensitize our teachers to noticing and harnessing multiple affordances in typical tasks, and hopefully to help these teachers and researchers realize that there really can be more than meets the eye when we talk about typical tasks.
Thank you, Sze Looi, for the very educational presentation. So now we actually know that there are actually these different things that we have to take into considerations when we are designing worksheets for students. Our next finalist for this evening is Abeed Fatima Mohidin. Abeed is a third-year PhD student from the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering. Her research focuses on microbiome resistance and resilience in anaerobic digestion, and this is done under the guidance of Prof. Stephen Woods. Let us welcome Abeed, who will be sharing with us more about her dissertation on how repeated disturbances enhance anaerobic digestion system.
What comes to your mind when you hear the word disturbance? It has a negative connotation, isn't it? Sounds detrimental. What if I tell you that disturbance can actually be beneficial in some cases? Let me explain how this works in anaerobic digesters. Anaerobic digestion is a biological degradation process for treating organic waste to produce renewable energy. One of the major downsides of anaerobic digestion is process instability due to disturbances such as sudden influx in organic waste or temperature fluctuation. In my study, I explored the potential of using these disturbances as allies to prime the microbes in the digesters so that they are able to handle sudden increase in organic waste, which would otherwise cause process failure. So I tested this by subjecting two groups of digesters to either once or twice short-term disturbances followed by prolonged disturbances in the form of organic waste overload. I found that the digesters that underwent two short-term disturbances experienced faster process recovery during the prolonged disturbance period compared to the ones that were only disturbed once. So the repeated disturbances might have increased the adaptation of the microbes in the digesters. You can think of it like going to the gym. If you do the same workout over and over again, you won't see much of an improvement, right? But if you mix it up and add new challenges, your muscles will become stronger. The same goes for the microbes in the digesters. By exposing them to new challenges, like sudden influx in organic waste, as in this study, the microbes are able to adapt, build resilience, and handle future overloading events more effectively. In a sense, my study have shown that repeated short-term disturbances offer a practical approach in priming the microbes to minimize interruptions in the digester, as well as to reduce potential economic downtime caused by sudden influx in organic waste. So, the next time you hear the word disturbance, remember that it's not always a negative thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Abeed, for the insightful presentation on how repeated disturbances enhance anaerobic digestion system. Our next finalist we have all right, let us invite Tan Jun Wen from the Lee Kong Chian School of Medicine. Jun Wen is a current third-year PhD student, and his research seeks to uncover the mechanism of action for serious games in the healthcare setting under the guidance of Associate Professor Srinivasalu Reddy Mugali. He was previously the Vice President of Wellbeing of the Lee Kong Chian School of Medicine Graduate Students Club. Let us welcome Jun Wen to share with us the secrets of gaming to learn and learning to game.
Have you wished you could play video games instead of studying for your exams and still do well for them? What if I said very soon that might become possible? Let me introduce you to my field of study. It's called serious games. Serious as in I'm being serious about something, and games as in the recreational activity you would play for fun and enjoyment. Together we get serious games, games designed specifically to resolve a serious problem. These problems typically show up in healthcare and education, and in the context of my work, healthcare education, where I am seeking ways to make such games better and more accessible to both students and educators alike. Now, we do know the average medical student must undertake an enormous amount of study before they can graduate to their clinical practice. Material taught early on in the educational journey is sometimes forgotten by the end. The solution? Rehearsal. But rehearsal is often not done because it's viewed as dull or uninteresting, or perhaps the student has more pressing things to learn at the present moment. Does this sound familiar though? Because it is. This is not just a problem of healthcare. This lack of rehearsal is a problem for every student, every educator, in every field, at every level of study. Rehearsal is boring. And the solution to this in turn is to use games, because games by their nature are more motivational than their non-game counterparts. Motivational meaning you will be more willing to engage in a game activity, and most importantly, you'll be more willing to come back and repeat it, which of course is the whole point of rehearsal. Now, serious games as a field is still a relatively new and up-and-coming field of study, and even the experts don't fully understand how the games work, only that they do. As a consequence, we cannot fully control how these games affect our players, nor can we maximize the benefits these games usually confer. Put simply, we don't know what the insides of these games look like. But what if I did? I could give you a cookbook containing step-by-step instructions on how you can create your own games that are motivational, efficacious, and fun. You could be creating games for your topics in your fields to resolve problems unique to you. But before we can get there, we must know the whys and the hows, and that is the goal of my study. I will use focus group discussions and randomized controlled trials to pick apart what makes these games so serious. I will map out the full mechanism of action such that you too can understand how these games work, such that you too can play video games instead of studying for your exams, and you too can do well for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jun Wen, for the great presentation on how we can incorporate games for positive learning outcomes. While we do see some positive effects of video gaming, there could also be some negative implications of video game play. Our next finalist, which is Valerie Yu Wen, will be sharing with us more about toxicity in online video games. Valerie is a third-year PhD student from the Wee Kim Wee School of Communication and Information. Her research examines the dynamics of toxicity in multiplayer online games and is currently working under the guidance of Associate Professor Vivian Chen. Let us invite Valerie to share with us more about her dissertation on the dynamics of toxicity in multiplayer online games.
As a form of entertainment, playing video games with other players should be fun. That being said, chances are if you have any experience playing multiplayer online games, you would have witnessed toxicity at some point in time. Think about things like personal attacks, teammates trying to lose the game on purpose, or players generally trying to interfere with your ability to play the game. As a longtime gamer myself, I've often found that toxicity can be demoralizing, upsetting, and can often negatively affect your feelings even long after the game is over. Normalizing toxicity in gaming is also problematic, as it can potentially lead to these behaviors being approved of and replicated in real-life interactions, especially by younger gamers. This makes it important for us to take toxicity in gaming more seriously, rather than brushing it off as something that happens within the boundaries of a fantasy world. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, okay, but what exactly is toxicity? This is what I hope to unravel with my research, where I aim to uncover what are the different forms of toxicity in gaming, how do players perceive and interpret these different forms of toxicity, and more importantly, what are the more detrimental forms of toxicity requiring our intervention. One of the biggest challenges that we currently face in toxicity-based research is that the concept itself is variably defined, making it difficult to practically assess and effectively intervene. The everyday understanding of the term toxicity has also become diluted over time, as players now use it to refer to pretty much anything that they dislike in a game. This is further complicated by shifting interpretations of whether an action is toxic or not, depending on whether the player is the perpetrator, the victim, or the observer in that current scenario. While some things like sexual harassment, for example, are clearly harmful and have no place in gaming, there are others that are often more ambiguous. Normal gameplay can often also overlap with toxic gameplay, making it difficult to tell the difference. So for example, how do you know if a player is intentionally losing the game for the team, or maybe he's just a bad player? At the same time, there are also benign and playful forms of toxicity that may still have a vital cultural role in gaming, so it's important that we don't diminish overall gameplay experiences with overly strict interventions. In the long run, I hope that my research can hopefully help to inform more appropriate interventions for toxicity while keeping video games fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie, for the wonderful presentation on toxicity in online video games. Our next finalist is Rachel Lim Rui Xia. Rachel is a final year PhD student from the School of Chemistry, Chemical Engineering, and Biotechnology. Her research focuses on the relationship between gut-derived metabolites and human diseases to develop novel analytical platforms for their detection while overcoming the limitations that are currently faced by the current detection methods. Let us welcome Rachel to share with us more about her research.
Do you know that your gut and brain are intimately connected? Think about it. Why do you feel happy when you have your favorite food and drinks? Why, when you're feeling stressed and nervous, the headache starts to kick in, you feel butterflies in your stomach, and sometimes even have the urge to visit the toilet more often? So, you see, these two talk to each other all the time, back and forth, just like two friends chatting over the phone. And this is known as your gut-brain axis. So the food that we eat goes down to our gut, and the gut bacteria then breaks them down into smaller chemical molecules known as metabolites. Recently, research has shown that abnormal levels of some gut-derived metabolites were found to be associated with neurological disorders like dementia and Parkinson's disease. These neurological diseases have affected more than 1 billion people worldwide and resulted in close to 7 million deaths yearly. Hence, it is clinically significant for the early detection of these gut-derived metabolites as non-invasive and more accessible biomarkers to indicate the onset of these neurological diseases so that early diagnosis and treatment can be facilitated, which can save the lives of these individuals. However, the current detection methods require skilled personnel to operate, are time-consuming, expensive, as well as suffer from poor sensitivity and stability. Therefore, my research is working on an alternative analytical solution to overcome these limitations by developing a rapid, simple-to-use, low-cost, highly sensitive, and portable biosensors for the direct detection of these gut-derived metabolites in humans. So, how does a biosensor work? I believe most of you should be familiar with the COVID ART. The working principle of our biosensor is similar to the ART. Once our developed sensors recognizes the target, this reaction is then converted to a signal to indicate if the individual is healthy or sick. The reason why this is important is that if this research is successful, apart from reducing costs and analysis time, accessibility challenges can be overcome, especially in low-income and resource-limited settings, where established laboratories can be located far away. On-site detection can then be performed at homes, clinics, and hospitals, bringing convenience to everyone. So now that you know that your gut and brain are intimately connected, before allowing neurological disorders to affect you or your loved ones at some point in life, listen to your gut feeling. It might be right about your brain health. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel, for the interesting presentation. I guess now when we think about the term gut feeling, we might actually have a different interpretation to it. Our next finalist is Huang Luqi, and Luqi is a third-year PhD student from the School of Biological Sciences. Her research is on molecular and immunology mechanisms of a triple-negative breast cancer mouse model, and is currently working under the guidance of Associate Professor Su Yixin. Luqi will be sharing more about her research on breast cancer metastasis by hijacking neutrophils.
Do you know what cancer has the highest incidence rate last year in the whole world in both sexes? It's breast cancer. Every 1 in 8 women will have breast cancer in her life. breast cancer is horrible is not usually because of cancer itself, but because of cancer metastasis. But why would breast cancer migrate to other places? To answer this question, we generate a breast cancer mouse model. When these mice grow older, they will have breast cancer spontaneously, just as human breast cancer. To visualize those cancer-initiating cells, we visualize them with yellow fluorescence protein, which is derived from jellyfish. So if we see the yellow fluorescence protein signal in the lung, spleen, or liver, then we know it's the early metastasis of breast cancer. But the question still is there. Why would breast cancer migrate to those organs? Who is the helper? So we identify a main helper, which is neutrophil. Neutrophil is good at translocation into different organs. And we notice a dramatic increase of neutrophil in the lung of these tumor mice. And some of those neutrophil has also yellow fluorescence protein inside, suggesting they are the hybrid cells. So we realize actually the neutrophil are the trucks and bring the cancer initiation cells as their cargoes through the ropes of lymphoid vessels. They bring those cancer cells into their new homes, such as the lung. So when they release those cancer cells to let them amplify, that's what happened to the breast cancer lung metastasis. So currently we are working on some new strategies to try to block this process. And hopefully now only testing in the mice, but future we want to use these new strategies to our breast cancer patients. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy, for the great presentation. Next, let us invite Liao Zheng, who is a second-year PhD student from the Nanyang Business School. His research focuses on online communication, and in particular, he seeks to examine and investigate the factors that contribute to engaging and effective communication in digital platforms. Let us welcome Liao Zheng, who will be sharing with us more about his research on how aggregate message signals thoughtfulness in online communication.
Think about sending messages to an important other. Have you ever felt nervous? You draft the messages, check them on and on, and finally click the send. Nowadays, we chat online much more compared to years ago. Unlike face-to-face communication, offline communication is much more invisible. When we talk in person, we see each other's facial expressions and body language. However, when it comes to online communication, our faces are behind the screens. In fact, it's the invisibility that makes us worry about what impressions we make on us and what others really mean. So, in online communication, what factors influence how people feel about others? As a marketing researcher, I focus on the communication between customers and service provider. Here is an example of a service trainer. When answering questions about their sections, the personal trainer can send message in a single block, as shown on the left. We call it aggregate. Or they can just break up the content into several separate messages. This begs the question, would it make a difference? We have done studies with consumers in which we asked them to imagine that they were looking for a personal trainer. Then they saw either of these screenshots. Now one would say these messages are the same. But actually, we think these are different. Aggregate messages appear as if the sender took time and effort to compose the messages. On the other hand, separate messages would appear as if the sender just threw out whatever was on their mind. And that's exactly what happened. We showed that when people see the aggregate messages, they would be more interested in the service provider. It's because they think the service provider was more thoughtful. So maybe next time when you want to send a message and be seen as considerate, just prepare all you would like to say and send it in a single box.
Thank you, Liao Zheng, for the very thoughtful presentation. Our next presentation for this evening is from Shi Hui Joy Su. Joy is a final year PhD student from the School of Social Sciences. Her research is on depression experiences of young adults in Singapore and is currently working under the guidance of Associate Professor Shirley Sun. Let us welcome Joy, who will be sharing more about her research on young adults' experiences with depression in Singapore.
An unpleasant companion, a seductive darkness, a black hole that just seems to get deeper and deeper. Such were some of the ways depression has been described by my informants. Suffering in the darkness, like the young person you see here, they are not alone. The World Health Organization estimates that over 280 million people have been diagnosed with depression in 2021, with 11% of the global young adult population affected. This makes it the highest among the age groups. Likewise, the Singapore Mental Health Study conducted in 2016 found that the highest prevalence rates of 9.2% were found to be among those aged 18 to 34, which is almost 1 in every 10 young adults. But these statistics alone do not give us the full picture. Why is there a disproportionate concentration of distress among young adults? And how has depression impacted their self-concept and relationships? Since young people are the future, and depression is considered a leading cause of global disability, avoidable suffering, and premature mortality, it is crucial we have a better understanding of how depression is experienced among these individuals. Now, we have learned that depression develops from a complex interaction of biological, psychological, and social factors. In my research, I focus on the social. Specifically, I seek to understand depression as a social issue. One is not only made more vulnerable to depression by a combination of certain social risk factors, but there are also social implications for each affected individual. By interviewing 15 young Singaporeans aged between 21 and 34 who have been diagnosed with depression, I set out to explore social processes and conditions in depression, such as social stresses, self and identity issues, the meanings they have made of their diagnosis, and cultural and gender differences. So far, I found that some of the major social stresses were experienced in childhood, in the form of domestic abuse, parental divorce, and bullying. In the subsequent years, problems with significant others and workplace stress provided the trigger for depressive symptoms. Participants also reported feeling socially validated by their diagnosis. Indeed, before they were diagnosed, they had thought that they were just being lazy or even defective. Finally, and most heartening of all, after having experienced depression, they reported having more empathy for others and themselves, and a strong desire to help others who may be facing similar struggles. With these findings, I hope we can better tailor support and interventions for this age group that take into account their social environment. Also, my findings suggest that early interventions may be helpful for children and adolescents facing stresses at home and in school. My study thus strengthens my belief that we are more than just numbers, and that there is a need to attend to the meaning and subjective experiences of mental distress, the black hole, the darkness, the old friend that is depression.
Thank you, Joy, for the great presentation on depression among young adults in Singapore. Last but not least, we have our final finalist for this evening, Yang Zi. Yang Zi is a PhD candidate from the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies. His research interests include civil military relations, China's security issues, and Chinese intelligence history. Yang Zi's recent academic articles have appeared in journals such as Civil Wars, Comparative Strategy, and the International Journal of Intelligence and Counterintelligence. Let us welcome Yang Zi, who will be sharing with us more about his research on why do militaries join violent revolutions.
So we all know the primary duty of the military is to defend the country from foreign invaders. But another important duty of the military is to defend the state from revolutions that can easily spiral out of control and affect the livelihood of every single citizen. As highly transformative events that can radically reshape societies, revolutions have transformed many autocracies in the past. However, without the help of the military, it is very difficult for revolutionaries to succeed. Nonetheless, as conservative institutions in charge of defending the state, the military usually reacts very negatively towards revolutions. So how do we explain the phenomenon of militaries actually joining in on violent revolutions that can lead to state collapse, social upheaval, and even the disintegration of the military itself? I would say that the answer to the question lies in the study of civil-military relations, in particular, the issue of military factionalism. Unlike in democracies, in autocracies, militaries tend to mimic civilian political behavior, which includes the prevalence of factionalism, where military leaders would join hands with civilian factions to advance and defend common interest. With that being said, I argue that the state of military factionalism at the time of the revolutionary outbreak determines the military's response to the revolution. Now, allow me to present 3 models of military factional distribution that describes the various states of military factionalism. First and foremost, we have the unipolar model. This is where the dictator's faction dominates the military, and here it will lead to the military following the dictator's orders to crack down on the revolution. Then we have the bipolar model. This is where you have 2 major competing factions in the military, one for the dictator and one against. In this arrangement, it could lead to the military conducting rebellious activities during the beginning of the revolution. Last but not least, we have the multipolar model. This is where you have multiple competing factions in the military, all jostling for power. Under this context, it can lead to persistent infighting among the factions and even the defection of disgruntled factions to the revolutionary camp. So what do you think? Can you think of any real-life examples, say from the Arab Spring Revolution or Asian revolutions of the past century? Next time you see a revolution breaking out, feel free to use my models to understand and forecast military behavior.
Thank you, Yang Zi, for the presentation. And once again, thank you to all our 17 finalists for the great presentation for this evening. So I believe that we have actually learned quite a number of different things from these different areas of research. And I hope that you have actually taken note of which presentation and which presenter do you actually like the most, because now we would actually be proceeding to our next segment, which is our 3MT Audience Choice Award segment. So right now on the screen, there is this QR code that I would like you to scan. And this is where you would actually vote for your favorite presentation for tonight. So we would have 3 minutes because this is a 3MT competition. So we'll have 3 minutes for this voting segment. So we will start our 3 minutes now. Okay, I think some of us are still probably having some issues logging in, so I'll give you a little more time to vote for your favorite presentation for tonight. Okay, I hope you've managed to vote for your favorite presentation for tonight. Okay, before we announce who's the audience. Oh, okay, so we'll announce the Audience Choice Award first, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so give me a moment. All right, so we'll be announcing who the winner for our 3MT NTU Finale 2023 for the Audience Choice Award winner this year. We have, is that supposed to be sound? All right, congratulations. Congratulations to Jun Wen, based on his presentation on uncovering the secrets of gaming to learn and learning to game. Congratulations. And our Graduate Students Association would be in touch with you regarding the details. All right. Okay. So now I think all of us are really excited to find out who our top 3 winners for this year's 3MT would be. So give me a moment to get back to the screen. All right. Are you ready? Okay. I think we are all very excited to see who our top 3 winners would be for this year's 3MT competition. And thank you so much to our 3 jury members for taking their time to look at the different presentations and consolidating the different scores for all our 17 finalists. So our second runner-up for this year's 3MT 2023 is... Congratulations to Abeed Fatima Mohidin from the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering. Congratulations, okay, for winning our second runner-up for this year's competition. All right, for our first runner-up for this year, let us congratulate. Congratulations to Sze Looi from the National Institute of Education, based on her presentation on unpacking the hidden affordances of teachers' self-designed worksheets. All right, so I guess we are really excited to announce and really excited to find out who our winner for the 2023 3MT NTU Finale would be. And our winner for this year would also get the chance to represent NTU at the Asia Pacific competition. So, okay, is that a drum roll? There's no sound effects. Okay, so, all right, our winner for this year is, congratulations to Rachel Lim Rui Xia. Congratulations, based on her presentation on direct detection of gut-derived metabolites via biosensing. Congratulations to our 3 winners, and our Graduate Students Association would be in touch with you. So, all right, before we end our session for this evening, I would also like to invite our NTU GSA President, Ernest, to give us a closing speech.
All right, thank you, Dominic. Okay, can you guys hear me? Thanks, Dominic. Are you able to hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, yeah. Okay, loud and clear. All right. Okay, hi everyone. Thank you very much. All right, so on behalf of the GSA, I would like to express our gratitude to thank all the participants for their involvement in the 3MT competition. So the videos that you guys have presented today were actually truly remarkable, and always useful work as we go for very fascinating to everyone. Also, I would like to extend a special thanks to all our esteemed panel of judges. So first and foremost, we have Prof. George Augustine, Professor of Neuroscience and Mental Health at LKC School of Medicine, who has consistently accepted our invitation year after year and has been a valuable member of our judging panel for many years in a row now. Also, we have Dr. Angela Ferratola, the director for our Language and Communication Center, who despite currently being in USA right now, have graciously accepted our invitation and remotely evaluated the videos and help out in the selection of the winners for today. Last but not least, we also have Dr. Priman Rajalinam, the director of our Center for Teaching, Learning and Pedagogy. In addition, for the judging of this year's event, Dr. Priman has also helped out in providing valuable suggestions and also remotely evaluated the videos, and has also helped in this selection of the winners for today. So with this, I'd like to sincerely thank all the support given by all the judges. In addition, we also want to thank and express our gratitude for our guest of honor for today, Prof. Lim Rui Xia, Dean of Graduate College, for gracing us with her presence throughout the event today, and also offering her unwavering support throughout this whole event. We'd also like to extend our thanks to Professor Andy, Deputy Associate Provost of Student Life at NTU, for taking his time today to come and join us and also watching this event all together with us. Last but not least, I also want to especially thank Sharifah from SAO and Wanda from Graduate College for all the consistent support in organizing this 3MT year after year. Also, I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to all the participants and audience for staying all the way to the end now, and also participating in a selection of the People Choice Award winner. And finally, I also attend the GSA academic team, and thank you each and every one of you for making all this 3MT a success. Once again, thank you everyone, and have a good week. Okay, Dominic, back to you.
Thank you, Ernest, and thank you all of you who have stayed throughout our 3MT this evening. And thank you so much once again to our guest of honor, Prof. Lee, our special guest for tonight, Prof. Andy, our jury members, Prof. George Augustine, Dr. Angela Fraterola, as well as Dr. Priman Rajalingam, and our graduate college, as well as our student affairs office for all the support and all the help in this event. Also, congratulations to our finalists as well as our winners for tonight. And also thank you to our organizers, our academic committee by NTU GSA that's led by Arun and Jiaping. And thank you all of you who have watched and have supported our event this evening. Thank you so much for your participation and have a good night.